You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are watching the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Please hang on for a few moments as we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Roblox, and welcome to the program after a long break. If you don't know, Good Morning Roblox is actually one of RBC's oldest programs as it's launched in 2020. When RBC moved headquarters in 2021, Good Morning Roblox did not move with them. Instead of having a morning show, RBC decided on having two separate talk shows. One was the chat and the other one was Spotlight. Therefore, the viewers of RBC have not had a morning show in more than 3 years. But now times have changed. We welcome you to the very first episode of the relaunched Good Morning Roblox in our brand new headquarters that were launched yesterday. And well, the chat and spotlight are nowhere to be seen here. RBC has decided to have Good Morning Roblox as one of the first shows to broadcast from this place. In the upcoming months, more shows will move into these headquarters, as well as our new RBC studio lot. So don't fear these changes. Your favorite programs are not leaving. If you don't know me, then my name is Austin, and I will regularly host this program. This is my first time hosting a news related program, but I have had some experience as an anchor, so I should do well. But of course, I won't be doing this all by myself. Me and Parker will co-anchor this show together. Parker wasn't able to come today, though, so Jacob will fill in for him.
Good morning. My name is Jacob. This is my first anchoring experience on Roblox, so thank you guys for trusting me. But enough from us, let's see the top headlines this morning.
Is Bloxburg dying? Bloxburg has experienced a decrease of visits, favorites, play length, and more during the past days. It looks like August 3rd was the worst day for Bloxburg since 2016, with only 18,000 visits. At its lowest point, we will get an experienced player to us in the studio to talk about the issues with Bloxburg and if they can be saved.
And also on the program, we will take a look at Jailbreak. Reports have it that Jailbreak developers are refusing to promote YouTubers to their influence program, even though they meet all the requirements. The Jailbreak team's defense is that they are overhauling their influence program. I can't speak. Okay, redo. 3, 2, 1. And also on the program, we will take a look at Jailbreak. Reports have it that Jailbreak developers are refusing to promote YouTubers to their influencer program, even though they have met all the requirements. The Jailbreak team's defense is that they are overhauling their influencer program, yet when they are called out by these issues that the people have been complaining about also became influencers.
And this broadcast marks a chapter in RBC's history, as this is the first broadcast to be aired from our new headquarters. It has been a long road to this point, and we look back at our old headquarters and get an exclusive interview with Johnny, the president of RBC, about the now old headquarters.
Good morning. It is Friday the 16th of August 2024, and today we start with this. The latest Bloxburg updates has been controversial to say the least. Many of the game's most loyal supporters have stopped supporting them after numerous updates that claim are bad. Statistics that our news channels gathered on the game shows clearly that the game is falling apart in popularity. Kev from the new RB News has 6 has his story.
Once Bloxburg was a game everyone would talk about playing if they had purchased the game, and even if they didn't pay the 25 Robux to play it, they wished to play it someday. Now that it is free, the people who bought the game are disappointed and even more angry at the updates before Coffee Stain took over leadership of Bloxburg, leaving Coeptus to do little to none of the work on Bloxburg and its updates, and the people who are now able to access the game dislike it too and wish that it was free before all these new updates that the community and majority of Bloxburg dislike, like fainting and towing, that we have previously covered on RBC. With all these new changes and updates to the game that the community dislikes, it was destined that the player count would eventually drop, even with all the new players coming in. Even Bloxburg content creators such as Ashley the Unicorn have been saying the recent updates have been trash, and not just content creators, but users have been outraged and even formed protest groups. With other players of the game, or also went to Twitter to share their thoughts. But there have been leaks about a new update that is supposed to introduce more projectors and screens, possibly leading to a new cinema building on the Bloxburg map, or the ability for players to make their own cinema on their plots with the new stage truss, stage light, cameras, projectors, screens, and more. That might be able to revive the game and get it back on track with good updates.
An interesting story. We've gotten a regular player of Bloxburg now with us in the studio. Now he's going to be talking about a bit of these issues. Welcome, Cyder. If you don't know him, then he's a very popular Bloxburg influencer who is not shy about what he feels about the developers, and many players are calling him the only hope there for Bloxburg. Now my first question is a rather basic one, but is a good question. Is Bloxburg dying? We have seen the statistics for the past 6 months, and we see that very clearly that it's going below in plays. But now it is time to talk about how the majority of the players feel. What do you think?
So I always say generally the majority of the players are just upset with the direction of the game right now and the leadership, or I guess lack of leadership, at Coffee Stain Studios, or Coffee Stain Gothenburg, which are the game development studio that runs Bloxburg currently. They're upset for many different reasons. There's a lot of different problems going on with console. Most console players on Bloxburg simply can't play the game because it's not usable. And they used to be able to under Coeptus, but they can't now because of something Coffee Stain did. The money update, for example, where they cut and reduced our pay, so we can't afford to build as expensive and big things as we used to. There's plenty of different reasons, but a lot of the players are disgruntled. I would say at least 80-90% of players have worse opinions on Coffee Stain now than they did a year ago, for example.
When did this all start? Like, when did the game start falling down amongst the players?
I would probably say definitely the Christmas update of the most recent one. So the 2023 Christmas update, Bloxburg was doing pretty well until then. And Coffee Stain came in, they were doing great updates, and then as soon as that Christmas update hit, they didn't add anything new. They added this elf hunt calendar that wasn't really usable. No one really used it. It was pretty much for players that were doing the elf hunt late, but the elf hunt is something you do every day. So not really many people were doing the elf hunt late. It wasn't useful. So they didn't add anything new in that update, and a lot of players were unhappy about that. And then since then, the updates have been small and far in between. They haven't really made very many updates, or big updates at least, anything impactful or anything to progress the game, to grow the game. It's been small stuff, small little role play items that aren't really used, stuff that you would join the game and play the update for a day just to see what they added and then leave. People just don't use the updates. And then they've added of course the money update. I'll reference that again. And then over the summer they went free. They didn't add a map revamp, and all they did is they just clicked go free without any, I guess, sort of plan to do anything else with that. That's a big opportunity missed there, and they should have capitalized on that by posting the map update or map revamp, and they didn't do it. So I would definitely say back in the Christmas update when that happened, the most recent one, is when it's all started going downhill with Coffee Stain.
Now, as you said, Coffee Stain. How would you describe their ownership of the game? Has it been hard for the players or something?
It's definitely been hard for the players. I guess their leadership style is one of the major problems with them. They're ran by Embracer. So Embracer is at the very top. They're this big company in Sweden, and then below that is Coffee Stain, and then one of Coffee Stain's studios is Coffee Stain Gothenburg. So that's how it works. And then those Coffee Stain Gothenburg people, those are the ones that own or run Bloxburg. So, and then within that, I think there's probably a couple developers, and then they have the community managers that run the Hey Bloxburg Twitter account, and that's pretty much the team. But yeah, it's definitely been a hard past few months, and most players just aren't playing anymore. You mentioned the decrease in player count. A lot of players just simply don't play anymore. They just aren't willing to go through the mistreatment by Coffee Stain and the developers over the past few months. They just simply stopped playing.
How do you think the developers of Coffee Stain could save the game? Is it savable at this point?
It's definitely savable, but it's going to be far worse, or much harder to save the game than it would have been when they went free just in June 15th, I believe. So it's definitely savable. They have a lot of work to do. I think over the holiday season, they could definitely grab back some players if they step up their updates by 2 or 3 times what they've been producing over the course of 2024 so far. So if they add a lot of new quests or items or actual features, I feel like that's what they need: features and or map revamps, stuff on the map to do, stuff that will keep you engaged in the game longer than just checking out what they added in the update. It should be stuff that we're actually doing in Bloxburg rather than, just looking at on Bloxburg. So stuff that's engaging. If they can figure out how to do that and draw back in some of those players that left over the course of the past few months, I think the game can definitely be saved. But as of right now, I wouldn't be surprised if it consistently reaches 10,000 players on weekends. It used to reach even 100,000 players on weekends, but it doesn't do that anymore under Coffee Stain. And I mean, they have a lot of work to do.
We have heard a lot on Twitter about how bad the new developers are. But I have to ask, do you know if Coiptus and Froggy are still working on the game, or have they quit the team?
So I do know both of them still hold a role on the game. I actually asked Froggy Hops myself about this on Twitter, and he did say that he was still working in the game in a way. He just had a different role. So I don't know if that role is bigger or smaller. I would assume that it's smaller because I don't think Froggy Hops would partake in the destruction of Bloxburg like this. And same goes for Coeptus. I'd imagine if he sold the game for $100 million, he probably doesn't want to work on the game as much as he did before. So I'd imagine he has a smaller role, but I'm sure he probably works in some sort of like direction, sort of maintaining the direction of Bloxburg. He's not doing a very good job at it, if that's what his job is, but I'd imagine they do something like that. So I know they still work on the game, both of them. And of course, Bram as well. He was a tester, prominent, I guess you could call him a developer or person working on Bloxburg under Coeptus' leadership. But Bram, he still works on the game as a community manager, and he probably does testing still as well. So they still work on the game. I just imagine it's a smaller role, and that's why we're seeing the changes to Bloxburg, negative or positive, that we are now.
No, we have heard the reasons why Bloxburg is dying and how it could be saved. But do you think that it would have experienced this if Coiptus and Froggy hadn't sold the game?
So I think one big thing that people don't realize when they talk about Coeptus and Coffee Stain and compare and contrast is Coeptus. Now people look back at him and only look at the good stuff. They see like the updates that he produced. But when you look back, Coeptus never talked to us. He like ever. Like we think communication may be bad now. I think they're doing a decent job, at least for what they're given by Coffee Stain. But most people think the communication is somewhat better or was somewhat better under Coeptus. That's not true. Coeptus never talked to us. Froggy Hops rarely talked to us. And if he did, it was for his YouTube channel, not really as like the Bloxburg developer, if that makes sense. So Coeptus and Froggy Hops, they were good in some aspects. Of course, there's pros and cons to everything. They had better updates in terms of consistency and quality and quantity, but and the quantity of items, not updates, because their updates were slow. They would update like every 1.5 months or even 2 months at some points. They were slow. The updates were very spread out, and they never talked to us. There was no communication at all. They didn't have a Twitter account. They didn't have a YouTube account. They didn't have a TikTok. I forget how much the current people post on these accounts. They don't post very often, but they didn't have one at all under Coeptus and Froggy Hops. So we've definitely improved in that aspect. So I don't think that we would be where we are in terms of the game dying if Coeptus and Froggy Hops were still running the game. Maybe they would have gotten I guess dried out in terms of ideas and direction for the game at this point, because it would have been 8 years of them running it by themselves. So maybe that would have happened, but I really don't. I think the game would have been more stagnant. Like I feel like we would have maintained the players rather than lost players, which is what we're doing under Coffee Stain. But Coffee Stain has the ability to gain players with a bigger team, with more money, with more direction, with better leadership, with more communication. They have the ability to be bigger. But instead they're being smaller. Coeptus and Froggy Hops, I feel like with just the two of them working on the game and developing and all of that, they probably would have just maintained the same amount of player count or player base consistently. I don't think they would have grown or shrunk the game. I think they would have just been pretty stagnant in terms of player count growth.
But apart from all the latest updates, how have the developers changed since they took over the game? I mean, they brought the game in December of 2022, so it can't be all that It can't be that all the updates have been that bad. Let's look at the burger place as an example. That was okay, right?
That was actually a great update. Now that was 2023. That was before that Christmas update that I talked about or mentioned, where the game sort of started going downhill. So 2023 was a great year for Bloxburg. I would argue it's probably one of the best years in terms of updates and quality and quantity wise. But ever since then, it's just been going downhill ever since that Christmas update. Now, yes, they did make great updates. Coffee Stain has shown an ability and has shown they're capable of making great updates, being communicative, putting out new features or doing it's almost like a live event, the Bloxy Burgers, update. But they haven't done anything like that since then, and they've only gone downhill. The updates have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and they've come far and few in between. Like they just have gone down in quality over time, and I don't know what the problem is. I've been saying on Twitter and telling my supporters that it's the leadership. People often like to attack Bram and Mari, which are the community developers for Bloxburg. They don't actually make the updates. I don't even really blame the developers. I blame whoever is at the top making decisions about what should be put in the game next. Why was a campsite the last update? Who asked for that? No one asked for that, and I honestly kind of find it quite offensive, actually, after an entire summer of complaining about updates and they add a campsite. What is that? There was no reason for them to add a small update like that. They didn't really bring any new feature. When you think about it, and you're going over and planning updates, and you lost all of these players, tens of thousands of players over the past few months, and you think this little campsite is going to bring them back so they can join the game and go sleep in a tent? That's not what we want. We need features. We need a school. We need new jobs. We need police. A fire station. We need features like can maybe something can catch on fire on Bloxburg. I don't know. There's so many different examples. YouTubers have made videos, hundreds of videos, maybe even thousands if you go to TikTok as well. Videos about different things that could be added to Bloxburg or suggestions, but none of them have been added. It seems as though the people, I guess even the community managers, have just been overlooking them. I don't really blame the community managers. I think it's more so the community managers are looking at these ideas and producing them and sending them over to the development team, but they're not receptive. The people at the top, the leadership people, I don't know why the leadership is doing this, but I definitely think it's something in leadership rather than, the actual developers or community managers with Bloxburg.
Do you think the players in general feel the same way about the devs? I mean, you obviously have a huge amount of followers from Twitter, so what do you think, if you just think about the replies on your post?
I think if the entire player base of Bloxburg were to hear my opinions, my true and honest and raw opinions, and really took them in, I think at least 80 to 90% of the player base would agree with the things that I'm saying. I think that I'm completely reasonable. I even think the developers would agree with what I'm saying. I've had a lot of posts criticizing the Bloxburg leadership, not the whole team, but the leadership. And the community managers have literally liked the posts, saying that it's not leadership, it's not the people at the bottom, but it's the leadership, the people at the top that are creating these problems for the whole community, really all the Bloxburg players. It's a problem for all of us at this point. But I do think that the majority of the player base agrees with me. I think a lot of the player base is actually more harsh on the Bloxburg team than I am, in terms of saying that they don't know what they're doing. I think that they do. They showed they know what to do in 2023. We know they're capable of producing these good updates and being fast with them and making them quantifiable. But they just don't do it anymore. And I think a lot of players recognize that and are upset with that. So yeah, I would agree that I would say 80-90% of the player base agrees with me. I am one of the most biggest organically grown Twitter accounts in the Bloxburg Twitter community, meaning that people don't follow me because of my YouTube channel. I do YouTube, but I'm not a huge YouTuber, so that's not why people follow me. People follow me for my opinions, and I post a lot of opinions about Coffee Stain. I'm one of the most vocal people on the topic, in criticizing them or supporting them. So I definitely think that I speak for a vast majority of the player base and all of the things that I say about Coffee Stain and the Bloxburg development.
Do you think that the other influencers of the game feel this way? Last week, there was a tweet from Ashley the Unicorn saying that the latest updates have been, and I quote, trash, unquote. Of course, the Bloxburg news accounts on Twitter went crazy over this, and many of them put the headlines, breaking news, over this. That may have been a bit too dramatic, but it is a fair question to ask. Have any other Bloxburg influencers been voicing their opinions on this?
Well, here's the thing. It is breaking news that they're right to say that because it doesn't happen often. I think that I'm friends with a lot of people in the Bloxburg content creator program, but I do think that a lot of them are somewhat like almost like scared to say anything about the Bloxburg developers or say anything negative. I honestly would too. When I was thinking about, you know, if I was in the Bloxburg content creator program, would I be saying the things that I'm saying now on Twitter? Probably not. Not as harsh as I am. I'm just being honest in terms of like on Twitter what I'm saying now. I gave up caring about what anyone thinks in terms of like the Bloxburg development. I'm just being honest. Um, but I don't think a lot of the YouTubers are. I don't for whatever reason. Maybe they think that they'll be removed from the program or whatever the case may be. But even not just them, the people that are outside of the program that are big Bloxburg YouTubers, maybe they feel that they can't say their honest opinions or say the raw truth about what they think about the Bloxburg updates out of fear of like retaliation from their fan base, which, mind you, the majority, almost all of their fan bases would agree with me in my takes on Bloxburg. So I don't know why that is, or why would they possibly think that. So there has to be some sort of reason though why they aren't as vocal as the entire rest of the community. Like they're the only people that are pretty silent on these issues. But I think I don't. There's a lot of Bloxburg YouTubers that have said things or talked about the Bloxburg game dying, but a lot of them just do it for views, and I don't blame them. It gets a lot of views, and they get money from it, but they're not sharing their real. In my opinion, at least, I don't think they're sharing their. Most of them are sharing their real, honest, truthful, raw opinions about Bloxburg because they would be much harsher than they currently are on their channels and whatnot. I guess they do have some sort of a degree of responsibility in that they can't tell people to go hate on the Bloxburg developers because they do have a lot of influence. Their viewers are children. So you obviously don't want that to happen. But at the same time, I think it's important to be honest and fair talking about Bloxburg. And I don't think the majority of Bloxburg influencers are doing that.
Now, you obviously still play the game, but you have started playing other games since the new developers took over the game. We have seen that many players are boycotting the game simply just so that the developers see a decrease in visits per day. And I mean, clearly, what they are doing is working.
So I think you might have been referencing the boycott that happened, I think in May of last year. That's when the money update happened and they cut our pay and players had a whole protest. We had the biggest Roblox YouTuber, not Bloxburg, but Roblox YouTuber, come to Bloxburg and protest the money update with us, along with all of our Bloxburg influencers. Again, this was just for money and clicks. I don't even think most of them believed in what they were doing or thought it would be effective. Again, most of these people can simply just buy Bloxburg money. They don't I mean, sure, that's not preferable. Obviously, it'd be better if it was just easier to make money on Bloxburg, but it's really not a problem for them as much as it is for kids that don't just have money to spend on Bloxburg or even, I guess, time to spend getting Bloxburg money. So, uh, I think the boycott there it wasn't very helpful. I think it really just brought more attention to Bloxburg. But I guess in a way, it's had a very long term impact. The short term impact wasn't very helpful. It actually probably did the opposite. It brought a lot of attention to Bloxburg, maybe even money because people were joining the game to protest and whatnot. But in the long term, I definitely think it's had impacts, making people just stop playing the game, saying like, okay, well, I guess I just won't play anymore, and maybe the Bloxburg game will fix it.
Do you have any sympathy for the devs after these updates? Some players and TikTokers have been making videos of them hanging these developers. Isn't that just a bit much?
It's definitely a bit much. I think it's kind of similar to the influencers just making videos about Bloxburg dying for money rather than actually caring about Bloxburg dying or, saying their truthful opinions. It's just for show. Like it's just a joke at this point. Obviously, it's more than a bit much, but I don't really think too much of it. It's just kids being kids, in my opinion. But of course, it shouldn't be happening. It's not right to do. And I also know they've been attacking the community managers. Like, it's okay if you're gonna do this. You shouldn't do it, but if you are going to do it, you should be doing it with the leaders of Bloxburg because the two community managers of Bloxburg don't even make the updates and they don't really have very much say, it seems, in deciding what comes in a Bloxburg update. So they're not even accurate. I don't know. I wouldn't even. I don't even think this should be a conversation though about whether that's too much or not. I think everyone can agree most reasonable people can agree that that's, not right. But I don't really have sympathy for the actual people in charge of Coffee Stain, the people that are leading the game and taking us down this bad path. Those people, they need to be held accountable. I'm talking in real life. Like someone needs to be held accountable for the killing of this game. There's people that rely on this game for their livelihood. There's people that make videos on this game as their job. Like they're like there's really money at stake. There's lives at stake. Really, when you think about it here. So someone at Coffee Stain leadership needs to be held accountable, or someone leadership needs to be changed or swapped out. I don't know what they need to do to get back on track. Whoever was running Bloxburg in 2023, they need to bring them back at the top, and they need to be the person calling the shots and coming up with ideas and taking feedback from the community. And the Bloxburg community managers could do a better job by producing polls on their Twitter account, asking people what they want, and then implementing one of those like 4 things into the game, whatever the players choose. And of course, you can make all 4 options possible to add to the game. It'll just make players feel like they're involved, and then this wouldn't even be a conversation, because players would feel like at least they're being heard, whether in a small or big way. But I don't really have sympathy, I guess, for them. But the hanging thing, of course, is too much.
What would you do differently if you were the dev for the game?
We need to focus on features. Features is the main thing. I think if we focus on that and then the map revamp, we could absolutely get back on track. Features include things like, things that you can actually do on Bloxburg. For example, they added in the last update. It wasn't very well put together, but it was at the start. They added bug catching, so you can catch butterflies and put them in a jar. That's an actual feature. You can actually do something. It involves multiple, actual items, the butterfly, and then you got to buy your fly catcher and go find them and then put them in a jar. It's an actual feature. You can do something. You can spend time doing something rather than just looking at the items on Bloxburg. If you're not building and pretty much making your own content on Bloxburg, there's nothing to do. They need to add features. They need to add things in the town to actually go to. That's what I would be focusing on if I were running Bloxburg. And I don't know why they aren't doing that. We've been talking about this for 6 months. I guess they just simply don't listen to us or don't care. I do know they invested $100 million in the game to purchase it back in 2023, I guess, 2022. And it doesn't look like they're going to make all of that back, at least in a timely manner, doing what they are right now. So there needs to be some change. I would go in there and fix it all up, but that's obviously not going to happen. So hopefully someone in there has some brains to get the ball rolling on this.
I understand what you're saying. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I just hope that someone at Bloxburg is watching this and will take what I said and do something with it. Show it to the leadership. It doesn't help to just see it and not share it. This needs to be shared and produced massively. We need massive reach on this. And I posted many things on my Twitter account. My Twitter account is a very good place to get information and news on Coffee Stain and Bloxburg. So definitely follow that to stay updated. I know they're working on the map update, and that's why the updates have been so small. But that's just simply not working. You're going to kill the game. We need change now. So the map update, the map revamp should have come out, and it hasn't. So hopefully that happens soon, but I'll keep you all updated on my Twitter account. So be sure to follow that at Cyder_TV. And then, of course, my YouTube at Cyder. But that's really all I have to add. So thank you all for having me on today's show.
Well, thank you so much, Cyder, for joining us and being the first ever guest on the relaunch of Good Morning Roblox. We hope you're still with us now, as we're going to talk about another big game of Roblox. If you are just tuning in, then we have a story to tell you. There have been some reports lately that the owners of Jailbreak are refusing to promote YouTubers that influence the program in the game, even though they meet all the requirements. The team of Good Morning Roblox managed to find a tweet from one of the YouTubers, but when they tried to find it again for the program, it had been deleted. The tweet said that 2 other influencers had the same problem and that they only got promoted after calling the owners out. We guess that something similar happened in this case. Johnny made his exclusive stories for Good Morning Roblox.
Once the most promising and popular game on the platform, everyone who had a computer in the Western world had likely heard about it. Now, it is struggling to get more than 50,000 active players. What happened to Jailbreak that made it fail so badly? Some people say that the developers stopped listening to the community and just kept on adding features they liked, which were more often than not completely useless. Whatever it was, clearly the players have stopped supporting them. We have tried multiple times over the last months to get interviews with Jailbreak players with only one success. This is what he had to say.
Have you noticed Jailbreak dying?
Yeah, there are a lot of hackers and campers.
But what about the players? Surely it isn't as fun as it was in 2018, right?
Yes, back then it was way more fun, just like a better community.
Why do you think that is? What could have happened?
Well, now it is easier to get exploits.
True, but what do you think about the latest updates? People have been saying that the devs don't take suggestions and only add stuff they want.
They are not that often.
But could there be more reasons why the game is dying? It might also be about the toxicity in the community. Over the years, many Jailbreak YouTubers have been posting about their attempts to become an influencer in the game. On almost all occasions, they get rejected. None of the reasons that the staff team of Jailbreak comes up with seems to be well-founded. Sometimes they have too few subscribers. Sometimes they apparently make clickbait videos. Sometimes they are supposed to have spread glitches. When asked about those things in more detail, they refuse to give that out. A popular Jailbreak news account on Twitter brought this to our attention by publicly mentioning this to all of his followers. When we tried to find the tweet again for this story, it had been deleted. We know of at least 2 cases where YouTubers who have called the devs out for their behavior regarding this have been added to the influencer team. It is unknown whether or not the writer of this tweet has been added to the influencer team after making this. One thing is for sure, though. If the developers plan on making getting the game to the glory it once had, then they need to step up their game.
And then to some more fun news, at least that's what we think. You probably know that RBC has officially moved headquarters. This is our first broadcast in a new place called RBC Broadcasting Centre. But before we can tell you about these headquarters, let's look at a story that the executive team of RBC made about the old headquarters.
11th of September 2021. That was the day that RBC moved from our 3rd generation headquarters to our 4th generation headquarters, or our current ones. The channel was in the best form it had ever been since its launch in 2018.
I remember the move like it happened yesterday. I had spent the whole summer making this place. When it launched, it was just the main building with Studio 1A, 1B, 2B, and 1C. The reason it took so long was honestly the tiles in the lobby. I almost gave up on the project because of them.
Asked about the day of the move itself, he answered this.
I remember thinking it was a really bad idea to create a whole new game for the new headquarters because it would reset our visit count. We had almost 3,000 visits at our old location, which had been the same since I started the company. That place had been through 3 different headquarters and the COVID-19 pandemic, so it felt strange to leave it behind. However, since the move, our new headquarters has accumulated nearly 43,000 visits, and all of our staff have joined us here. This transition feels even stranger than the last one.
Yes, it will indeed be strange to leave this place behind. It has been the home to many of our most watched shows. For example, The Star, The Actors, Boxing Brawlers, Linda, RBC Song Contest, The Chat, and of course RBC News 24. Since RBC News 24 was launched, it has only gotten one change. In October 2023, the newsroom and the studio were both updated to be both more modern and more original to RBC. The main goal with the change was to keep it as similar to RBC News 24 as possible. On Sunday, that is not the goal. Our goal with the new headquarters is now to bring you important news as clearly and well as possible and do it in a better look.
Jacob, I don't know about you, but I find it pretty interesting how long it takes to build these headquarters. As Johnny said in that story, it took him a whole summer to make it, so that is likely from June to September. This new place we are in was actually made in similar amount of time.
Yeah, you wouldn't really think it would take that long to make this all. I mean, it obviously looks like a ton of work, but 3 months seems a bit much.
It does seem a bit long, but of course, there is a lot to make, and that takes its time. But you are probably tired of hearing us talk about the new headquarters again and again. We would love to show them to you, so let's see a short video of the new headquarters.
Wow, just look at the news studio and talk about news. If you were just joining us, then these are our top stories today from the platform.
Is Bloxburg dying? Bloxburg has experienced a decrease of visits, favorites, play lengths, and more during the past days. It looks like August 3rd was the worst day for Bloxburg since 2016, with only 18,000 visits at its lowest point.
And also on the program, we will take a look at Jailbreak. Reports have it that the Jailbreak developers are refusing to promote YouTubers to their influencer program, even though they have met all the requirements. The Jailbreak team's defense is that they are overhauling their influencer program. Yet, when they are called out about these issues, and the people complaining about all of a sudden became influencers.
And this broadcast marks a chapter in RBC's history, as this is the first broadcast to be aired from our brand new headquarters. It has been a long road to this point, and we look back at our old headquarters and get an exclusive interview with Johnny, the president of RBC, about the now old headquarters.
Welcome back to the program. You are watching Good Morning Roblox on RBC. Now, Austin, have you heard about Roblox has been banned in Turkey?
Yeah, I heard about that. It is a bit wild, right? What were the reasons for it again?
Officials in Turkey say that the popular platform was banned due to the concerns of child safety, as there have sadly been a couple of incidents in recent years where creators are making explicit and inappropriate content that could be thought as 18+ content.
That is pretty interesting. I mean, I guess that it is a fear. We regularly see images of something wildly inappropriate on Twitter, but that leads me to my question. Why wasn't Twitter or X, as it is now called, banned? Isn't that way worse and way more sexual for users?
Well, that is a good question. I honestly don't know what led them to ban Roblox. Turkey has been famous for blocking internet access in the past. If they don't like something there, they often do it before elections. Instagram was one of the most banned recent apps, so we may be expecting to see some.
Well, let's hope for our Turkish viewers that is it for now. Hopefully, no other websites get blocked. But let's now talk about something that is definitely not blocked. The third season of The Star is expected to start this fall on RBC. It is expected that the hosts and judges will be revealed very soon. RBC posted this announcement some weeks ago, telling viewers that our applications have opened. Let's start the announcement. Definitely an interesting video. It is very nice to see that the star is starting again. But while we play this short video, our producers of Good Morning Roblox went up to the interactive show department and got two of the best talent show producers on Roblox. They are the ones behind the third season of The Star. I am of course talking about no other than Georgia and Luke. Welcome guys, how are you?
Thank you.
Really good,
Really
thank
good.
you. Really good, really good.
That is great. So I want to ask you guys a few questions about the star. My first question is very basic. What is the star?
Well, Luke, I think you can answer this one.
Basically, a form talent show where we showcase amazing talent from all over the country from singing, and it's basically a singing show, and we are trying to find the winner of the winners to create a new stand for RBC for the star. and we want it bigger, better, and more beautiful than ever. It is basically what we call it's big talent show, but only for singers only. You've got to impress the judges, and it's basically like The Voice, but it's in judging format. That's how we.
I remember a chatter on the staff team, the daily gossip, that the Star was getting a new format, and that is an original format now. Is that correct?
Well, yes, me and Luke have spent like an entire month, like the past month, inspired a lot by many in real life format, like as Luke said, the Star, Eurovision, since I like obsessed with it, the Idol, American Idol, and lots more. So it's like a mix of all those.
It is.
How was the Star last year and the year before that? What makes it different from this new season?
So the first season was like only audition and the like stage building. So it was like only built for role play basically. And season 2 is like only NPCs and it was like all acted out, etc. etc. This season, the 2024 season of the Star will for the first time have actual real people.
What is the first step in creating a contest like this? Like, what do you guys do when you get handed a new contestant for oversee? Do you start by creating a format, or do you start with the applications? What do you do?
Is very simple. We start with the applications because we want more people to join the Star. We want it bigger, better, and more fun for people to enjoy and showcasing what they do as singing career. And then the second part is the format because we want a unique set of singers that we want to put in the applications. So we start with the applications first and then think about the format the second. So that's how we work with it.
How long does the planning for a contest like this take?
Like
How long did it took? I think it took like I don't know.
Would you
But
say it
no,
take
2 to 3 months.
but no, that we know that planning is the first step. How does that go? Is it hard to agree on things? It can't be that you guys agree on everything now, is it?
Well, obviously we don't like really agree on everything, but like I feel like me and Luke have been friends for like a long time now. We have done shows in like basically every network on Roblox at this point, and so we really know how to like put on a show like that one. And when I proposed this like format to Luke, like a combination of like so many talent shows, Luke loved it, and I'm so glad he came here to join this adventure with us.
Mm-hmm. Who will build the set this year, and has the set construction started?
So the set will be built by none other than the best developer on Roblox, aka Johnny, which is the owner of RBC. The set construction has indeed started. I've seen like first images of the set. It is insane. Like it's incredible. I love it. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Let's talk a bit about the applications now, shall we? I've heard from Johnny that you guys have been finding it hard to get contestants for the first season. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why might that be?
Yes.
No idea.
No idea. Yeah.
Do you guys have any plans to try to get more applications? I saw that there is a requirement to use voice chat. Have you guys considered removing that requirement if nothing works?
I think me and Luke have an exclusive announcement for you guys here at Good Morning Roblox because we have done like a meeting talking about how desperate the situation was because it is desperate, and we have decided to remove the voice chat requirement.
What happens if you don't get enough applications, no matter what? Will you be forced to cancel the show?
No, I
No,
think
no, 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 no.
When can we expect to see the first episode of this new Star? I mean, if the applications start coming in, when do you guys think you will start?
Our goal is to like start the show at like 15 applications, but we might consider, depending how the applications go, to start it like earlier. So go apply, guys. We are desperate to like have applications. There's the link in RBC. Go apply now, please.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna apply. Anyways,
You
how
should.
long will this season be? How many episodes are you guys expecting?
Okay, let me count.
Can I answer this, Giorgio?
Okay, we have 4 editions. Two. So 4 like other rounds. Then we have the semi-final, the final, the elimination rounds. I'd say like 12 to 15.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time out to join us this morning for the first episode of the relaunch Good Morning Roblox. You guys will be able to join our home and have a look around all of the rooms and studios in our new headquarters. We will be back again soon, but in the meantime, you can join our Discord server, which will be linked below. You can also follow our Twitter and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel to see all the latest headlines about Roblox as well as the world.
Well, thank you again. Thank you again, Good Morning Roblox, for trusting me to be on this show. But that's it for today. From both of us, have a nice day.